Who is the most evil female character in film history?
A gentleman would kiss a lady's hand.
You are not a lady.
Who was the most popular female villain of the 1960s?
Oh, really? Did she like it?
And are any of those based on real women? Welcome to Do You Remember? I am Nostalgic Nick.
And now we can go somewhere for an interesting talk.
The 1960s was a decade full of tragedy and civil unrest, and everyone was searching for ways to turn on, tune in, and drop out.
Where's Vozick?
He said he'd blow up the dam.
The safest way to escape was by watching films and TV shows, but there's no escape from our collection of female villains.
I should have been over there a long time ago.
This countdown is our most sinister video yet, so be sure to stay to the end to tell us if you agree with our ranking.
Blast this wretched pin!
The entire team at Do You Remember exclusively covers the best music, movies, and TV from our favorite decades, and we work hard to tell you the stories you want to hear.
It's a strange hobby. Curious.
So, if you enjoyed today's video, all you gotta do is hit that thumbs up icon to show your support. And also, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can easily find our latest episodes. Leave a comment to tell us what kind of videos you wanna see. But now, without further ado, bring on the bad girls. Asa Vida. Black Sunday features Barbara Steele as the Moldavian princess Asa Vida, who seeks vengeance centuries after she was executed for witchcraft.
The unchained elements of the powers of darkness are lying in ambush.
She's accidentally resurrected when her tomb is disturbed and goes on a bloody conquest to possess Princess Katya, her beautiful look-alike.
You don't believe me, but I tell you, Constantine, I saw it! I saw it!
Fans of Italian horror director Mario Bava consider Black Sunday his undisputed masterpiece, and Asa Vida one of the scariest villains of all time. But Barbara Steele had a rocky relationship with Bava. Steele said that her inexperience and inability to speak Italian caused problems from the start, and she often refused to come to set because she didn't like her wig or her skimpy costumes.
What is my life? Sadness and grief.
Mortia Adams. Gomez Adams greeted his darkly delicious bride with a variety of different pet names, and who could blame him?
Tish, when you pat my cheek that way, it drives me wild.
Carolyn Jones wonderfully portrayed Morticia, the spookier and sexier alternative to the typical 60s housewife. And would you know that they were the first married couple on American TV that was implied to have a sex life?
Excuse me, gentlemen.
Gomez, darling, control yourself.
Did you also know that Carolyn Jones initially turned down the role because she was focused on her film career and didn't want to commit to a TV show? But her soon-to-be ex-husband, the prolific Aaron Spelling, talked her into it.
Oh, poor Melancholia, doomed to spinsterhood.
There were positives and negatives, negatives being the 2 hours each day to put on Morticia's makeup. And she completed the ensemble with a human hair wig. We're not sure who donated the hair, but we do have a few theories.
Cousin It, you're losing your hair.
Either way, Carolyn Jones, your Morticia, is certainly on this list. Catwoman. Catwoman made being bad look good, and of course she was a huge hit with the male viewers.
I'm gonna throw you out that window.
Julie Newmar said she enjoyed being mean, bad, and nasty, but was initially insulted when she was offered the role. She had never heard of Batman, but she agreed to take the part after her brother told her that he and his buddies would blow off their studies at Harvard to watch the show.
You convinced me.
The dynamic duo battled Newmar in 13 episodes, more than any other female villain in the show.
I guess you're right, Batman. Can't teach an old cat new tricks.
But she was shooting McKenna's Gold in 1969 and was unable to return to Gotham City for the show's final season. The great Eartha Kitt took over the role for season 3.
No best dressed list is complete without the addition of the Queen of Criminals.
But the ongoing sexual tension that existed between Catwoman and Batman was dropped after Kitt was cast. Mrs. Robinson. In The Graduate, we see young Benjamin Braddock seduced by Mrs. Robinson, the original cougar.
Would you like me to seduce you?
The two lovers soon discover that they have little else in common than their summertime fling.
Well.
But Mrs. Robinson certainly doesn't step aside quietly when Benjamin courts her daughter, Elaine.
Listen to me very carefully, Benjamin. You are not to see Elaine again, ever. Those are my orders, is that clear?
Anne Bancroft and Dustin Hoffman were actually only 6 years apart in age, but Hoffman looked naturally boyish, and Bancroft was a longtime smoker and drinker who looked older than her actual age of 27. The Graduate would become the highest-grossing film of 1967. And many people credit the subsequent growth of plastic manufacturing companies to Mr. McGuire's famous advice to Benjamin.
Exactly how do you mean?
There's a great future in plastics.
Mr. McGuire was played by Walter Brooke, who admitted several decades later that boy he wished he had followed his own character's advice. Cruella DeVille.
If she doesn't scare you, no evil thing will.
Cruella DeVille was envisioned as a manic version of Tallulah Bankhead, and she will stop at nothing to be fashionable.
I don't care how you kill the little beast, but do it! And do it now!
After Cruella kidnaps Pongo and Perdita's puppies to make a fur coat, they recruit canine companions to rescue their litter.
Take over, Captain! Righto, sir.
So Disney desperately needed a hit after Sleeping Beauty was a box office flop, and 101 Dalmatians was produced with a skeleton crew and a shoestring budget.
We had 15 people on the story crew, and Bill Peet did it by himself.
But after its 1961 release, it became the highest-grossing animated film of all time, and is largely credited with saving Disney Animation Studios. So, if you love Disney cartoons today, boy, you can thank Cruella DeVille for that.
Oh, you imbecile!
Shut up.
Mother. When you first meet Mother, you might think she wouldn't even harm a fly.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
But Janet Leigh said she never took a shower ever again after seeing her violent on-screen end. We all go a little mad sometimes, and Anthony Perkins portrayed the dual roles of Norman Bates and his late mother, Norma.
I don't hate her. I hate what she's become.
He was never all Norman, but he was often only Mother. The sound you hear of Norman's knife penetrating flesh is actually the sound of a knife stabbing a cassava melon. And Sir Alfred Hitchcock used Bosco chocolate syrup as a blood substitute because it showed up better on camera.
The whole place was, well, it's too horrible to describe.
The Psycho cast and crew were all sworn to secrecy about the story while filming, and theatergoers were greeted by a cardboard lobby display of the master of suspense pointing to his watch with a note saying, "The manager of this theater has been instructed at the risk of his life not to admit to the theater any persons after the picture starts." After the movie's release, Hitchcock received an angry letter from a father who said his daughter refused to shower after seeing Psycho, to which Hitchcock did send a brief reply saying, quote, "Send her to the dry cleaners." Bonnie Parker.
The things that turn up in the street these days.
The real Bonnie Parker was only 4'10", 9 inches shorter than Faye Dunaway, who fasted and wore a weighted belt to lose 25 pounds for the role. While creating her cinematic alter ego, Dunaway wanted to wear slacks so she could move freely during shootouts. However, costume designer Theodora Van Runkel had something more glamorous in mind. and the Bonnie and Clyde look soon took over the fashion world. Sales of berets skyrocketed as honest women everywhere sought to let out their inner bad girl and emulate Bonnie's signature look. Let's face it, Bonnie and Clyde raised the bar for cinematic violence, and director Arthur Penn claims it was the first American film to show the firing of a gun and its consequences in one single take. However, Jack Warner took 3 bathroom breaks during the first screening and dumped the film into drive-in and second-run theaters. Producer and star Warren Beatty pressured Warner Brothers to give the film a proper re-release after it did receive positive attention from the press and the critics. Baby Jane Hudson.
He told me the company had a very bad year and they couldn't. No, they didn't. They had a great year. They didn't want to show my film. They were too busy giving a big build-up to that crap you were turning out.
Joan Crawford and Bette Davis were both in their early 50s in 1962, and Hollywood producers seemed to have forgotten about their previous successes. Joan Crawford was even desperate enough that she personally recruited her longtime rival to portray her abusive sister in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Bette Davis famously insisted on doing her own makeup because she knew that no reputable makeup artist would agree to make her look so hideous. She said that she was inspired by the aging starlets she saw hopelessly wandering around on Hollywood Boulevard. Baby Jane was a smash hit, and it launched a brand new film genre that allowed aging actresses to breathe fresh new life into their careers. Grand Dame Guignol films, also commonly known as hagsploitation films, typically featured a formerly glamorous older woman drifting into insanity and terrorizing those around her. Fiona Vulpe.
Oh.
James Bond has always been an incorrigible philanderer, but he does it all for Queen and country. Female adversaries often become allies after sleeping with 00, but Fiona Vulpe, played by Luciana Paluzzi, is a notable exception. In Thunderball, Vulpe is a Spectre assassin who works directly under Emilio Largo. After Bond sleeps with Vulpe, he refers to her as
wild. You should be locked up in a cage.
And their steamy love scene is strategically shot through the bars of a bed frame. The ferocious tigress saves 007's life multiple times in the film, but ultimately becomes a human shield after betraying our hero for the final time.
One of my friends sits this one out. She's just dead.
Deela.
They will look for you.
They will not find you.
Speaking of philanderers, Captain James T. Kirk boldly went to at least first base with over a dozen women during the original Star Trek show. But in the Season 3 episode Wink of an Eye, Queen Deela of the Skolosians wants him all to herself. Kirk is kidnapped while responding to a distress call on a seemingly dead planet. He discovers its inhabitants have undergone acceleration in their biochemistry, causing their hours to pass like minutes. The process also rendered Skolosian men sterile, and Deela informs Kirk of her intention to cryogenically freeze the Enterprise crew, so they would have a ready gene pool to repopulate their planet. Kirk is also accelerated, which causes him to vanish from the crew's view, and is told that he will be unable to return to the Enterprise. But we all know that Captain Kirk does not believe in a no-win scenario.
I don't believe in a no-win scenario.
And he manages to get a message through to Spock. Spock figures out how to reverse the process and free his old pal from the Scalos. Too bad, Deela, too bad.
It was quite delightful kissing you when you couldn't see me.
Varla.
What can I do for you today?
Just your job, squirrel. Fill it up.
In Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, 3 drag racing go-go dancers get more than they bargained for when they attempt to rob a disabled man living in the desert with his 2 sons. The trio of high-octane harpies is led by the ultraviolet Varla, who unalives a young girl's boyfriend and takes her hostage in the film's first act.
You better believe it.
Russ Meyer's 1965 exploitation film has become a cult classic, which also inspired the name of an 80s hair metal band and the Spice Girls' Say You'll Be There music video. Directors John Waters and Quentin Tarantino also both say it's one of their all-time favorite films.
They let them vote, smoke, and drive, even put them in pants. So what do you get? A Democrat for president.
Tura Satana, who played Varla, one time told an interviewer that despite the nudity and the sexual themes of his films, She always believed Meyer was a feminist at heart. Satana said, quote, "He liked to make women strong and make them feel that they were empowered."
Point is of no return, and you've reached it.
Man, those are some evil but beautiful and talented villains. Those were the most notorious female villains of the 1960s. But now we really need to hear from you. How did we do? Which of these villainous vixens is your favorite? Which one was the cruelest and most evil? And most importantly, did we forget one of your favorite villains from the 60s? Well, get down in the comments and tell us who. Tell us if you have an idea for one of our future videos. After all, we're nothing without you. If you enjoyed the video, click that thumbs up icon, that's all you gotta do. Well, one more thing, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, that way you never miss a memory. But most importantly, from all of us here at Do You Remember, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.